Welcome to Making It with Terry Woolman, the show that explores the secrets, successes, and strategies for making it in the music biz. And now, here's your host, Terry Woolman.
Chances are you think that I'm in love with you. Just because.
Welcome to the show, and thanks for tuning in. I want to say a quick thank you to my guest on last week's episode, world-renowned pickup designer Seymour Duncan. If you didn't get to hear it, you can listen to all of our episodes at entertalkradio.com/makingit, or download our app and take us with you. Be sure to tune in for upcoming episodes with bassist-composer Nathan East and music manager, author, and creator-organizer of We Are the World, Ken Cragen. We also have a unique one-year anniversary show scheduled that I'm very excited about with special guest host Melissa Manchester, who will be interviewing me as her guest artist. I'd like to take a moment to thank the companies that helped me sound my best in the studio and on stage. Blue Microphones, Seymour Duncan Pickups, Taylor Guitars, Mesa Boogie Amps, D'Addario Strings and Planet Waves, Motu Digital Performer, IK Multimedia, and Exotic Effects. So often I get asked questions about the creative process, so I created this show to focus on what it takes to have a lasting career in the ever-changing landscape of the music business. You're really in for a treat, as I've invited my friends, some of the best and brightest in music, to share their stories on how they have influenced the music that has shaped our lives. I guarantee you're going to love it. So let's get started. My guest this week is singer-songwriter Melissa Manchester.
Hello, my friend.
Hi, Melissa. Let me tell you a little bit about Melissa. More than 25 years after Melissa Manchester released Tribute, her 1989 album that honored the great female singers who influenced her, she turned the tables with The Fellas, a radiant homage to Frank Sinatra, Mel Tormé, Tony Bennett, Dean Martin, and others, and the iconic songs that they made famous. Many of these tunes embedded themselves into Manchester's musical DNA while she was growing up in New York City's Upper West Side. Primarily a solo album, Manchester did recruit one very special fella, Barry Manilow, who duets with her on a jubilant For Me and My Gal. Manilow and Manchester met 40 years ago when they were young jingle singers trying to break into show business. In fact, Manilow was responsible for introducing her to Bette Midler, which led to Manchester's stint as a founding member of the infamous Harlettes. Following her time as a Harlette, Manchester's tremendously successful solo career brought her critical and commercial acclaim. The Midnight Blues singer received her first Grammy nomination for Best Pop Female Vocal Performance in 1979 for the Peter Allen, Carol Bayer Sager penned Don't Cry Out Loud, winning the Grammy in that category 4 years later for You Should Hear How She Talks About You. Manchester has also had her songs recorded by Barbra Streisand, Roberta Flack, Dusty Springfield, Alison Krauss, Kenny Loggins, and many others. Two songs she performed, Through the Eyes of Love and The Promise, were nominated for Oscars in the same year. With The Fellas, Manchester completes a journey that began more than a quarter century ago, while also creating an exciting new chapter for her and her fans. Please welcome my guest today, Melissa Manchester.
Happy to be here.
And I'm happy to be here with you always and anywhere.
Thank you.
And today, we're in your home.
Yes, you are. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. It's, you know, this home to me, your home to me, is many things. It's a place of family and friendship and celebration. We work here sometimes. We collaborate, and the gems, the beginnings of our ideas are born.
Right behind you,
Right
actually.
behind me at this piano.
Yes. What we just heard, A Piece of Chances Are.
Yes.
Which is from The Fellas.
Yes.
And thank you for that lovely introduction.
You're welcome.
You gorgeously arranged for the Blue Note Orchestra at
Yeah.
Citrus College. And it was my tribute to Johnny Mathis. And there was a song that I thought of prior to Chances Are, but I couldn't find a way to open it up. And you arranged the only song on The Fellas that is completely rethought and redressed,
reimagined
entirely. And I remember us sitting right there, and the thing about Chances Are is that there was this what I call an intentional comma, an emotional comma, after each time the phrase "chances are" is set up with a new idea that follows, and it had this luscious space to fill as a bossa nova or a samba or whatever. But you did such a glorious job.
Thank you. It was fun because we really, well, it was more than fun. It was incredibly moving to be a part of your new album and to be the renegade with you, to go off the beaten path with a song and to take chances.
Well, you certainly did, because when we were in the studio and that opening section with just the strings happened, and it had no, I didn't know where we were going, and I thought, oh no, we're good.
Right.
It was beautiful.
Well, that was part of, I wanted to build a world.
You did.
That
absolutely did.
Didn't exactly tell you where you were going except into beauty.
Right.
In some way.
Right. It unfolded. It was gorgeous.
Yeah. And it continued to unfold through the arrangement and your performance. And it was really a great experience to work with the students.
Yes.
You know, let's talk about the Blue Note Orchestra and Citrus College for a moment.
Sure. I'm artist in residence there and have been. I was invited to be artist in residence by the former head of the Performing Arts Department, Ben Bollinger. And in the beginning, you know, I did a concert and used some of their citrus singers, and their citrus singers are spectacular. Just in the month of December, they do over 50 concerts.
Right.
All around the country, overseas. They're spectacular.
They are.
But more recently, I recorded my 20th album, You Gotta Love the Life, which you co-produced with me. And one of the reasons is because prior to that, you were kind enough to explain to me what this new world of an independent artist and what crowdfunding meant. And that it was part of this new paradigm for the marketplace. And so I sallied forth into the world bravely.
You did,
bravely,
very courageously.
In spite of trembling hand and foot.
Understandably.
Yeah, and we were invited to use the incredible studio at Citrus College. And we did, and it was my return to making an album with my band and fantastic musicians who were your colleagues and my colleagues. And in that experience, because of your connections and mine, suddenly Al Jarreau was coming in, and Dionne Warwick, and I was meeting with Joe Sample and
Stevie Wonder, Dave Koz,
and Dave Koz, and because the studio at Citrus College, though it is state-of-the-art, it is also a teaching facility.
Right.
And our engineer, Tim Jaquette, is professor of audio arts. During our time together there, a small group of engineering students would come in and sit quietly and
very
watch,
respectfully,
reverentially, is
yes,
what I
better
think.
choice of a word.
Seeing how musical discussions would happen between you and the musicians and myself and me and the artists, and the many of the engineering students, I would guess, had never seen that, because the convention these days is you make an album in your garage and the only person you actually talk to is the pizza delivery guy at 4 p.m.
Right.
So there they were, and even while they were watching all these discussions, Tim Jaquette, the professor, who would look up at the screen above the control board, would ask the students, while we're recording or setting up, why am I turning this dial? What is the effect I'm hoping to gain? And they would have to answer him very quietly. And I thought, oh my, there are so many layers of experience happening here. And it was just, I mean, it was thrilling.
Yes.
And so after I
too.
came, it was fantastic. So after I came back from performing with the Citrus Blue Note Orchestra in Hawaii, Dean Bob Slack, now head of the performing arts department had asked me if there was an idea I could think of to incorporate the Blue Note Orchestra into a project of mine. And I said, funny you should ask. And I explained to him about this completion of an idea that started with the tribute album that I'd always wanted to complete with the fellas.
So you knew immediately when he asked the question that this was the album?
Well, it had been lurking sort of over here.
Right.
So when that opening came up, it was a done deal in 40 minutes.
Sure.
And and we ended up recording 8 tracks in one day.
Yes.
I'd never recorded 8 tracks in one day, and the album was effectively done in 2 weeks.
Right. Yeah.
Wow. And
8 tracks in one day with an orchestra.
Yes.
Not just 8 tracks in one day.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we had the big band and the rhythm section the first day, and percussion the first day.
Right.
We had French horns and harp the second day, and we had the string section the third day done.
Right. Done. Right.
It was fantastic.
Right.
And the arrangers.
It was like air traffic control. With Bob just saying, "Okay, you're next."
Right. And what was thrilling is because I did crowdfunding again this time, for those who had contributed enough. Some of the fans were sitting in the control room the first day, and I mean, their heads were just exploding.
Yes.
They had never been through anything like this.
And this independent artist world that you have marched so bravely into, that I've invited
Thank you,
into.
Coach.
It's great to have you on the team.
That's right.
One of the things that we really talked about and discovered about crowdfunding is it's not just about an exchange of money.
Right.
It's an energetic exchange. It's an invitation to our fans and friends to really become a part of the creative process.
That's the thing. I had no idea that my fans would be so interested in the process.
Right.
I mean, for me, that's the filet of music, putting it together. But this village that was created, where these sweet aunties and uncles had the opportunity to lean in.
Yeah.
And I remember on our project, the release had to be delayed a little bit.
Right.
And I wasn't sure what the reaction would be, and everyone would say, "Don't worry, just get it right. We're here for you whenever it's right."
Right.
I thought, wow.
This is your fan base.
Oh, it was so dear. It was really precious.
And when we recorded You Gotta Love the Life,
Right.
The first album that we did together,
Yes.
I was a little concerned about being distracted a little bit by students and a little bit by the fans that had become part of this process and some invited to the sessions. And they wouldn't even get up to pee. They were so quiet.
So true.
They were so reverent and in awe of the...
They just didn't want to miss anything.
Right, the creative...
They did not want to miss anything. Yeah.
And that's how I feel when I'm in the studio.
Yeah.
I'm just mesmerized by our creative process, and by our, I mean yours and mine individually, us collectively, and our tribe.
Well, yes, indeed. Speaking of that, I love the fact that you were there that first day. Doug Walter, our arranger, was there. Peter Hume was there. Young David Catalan was there, who was an alum of Citrus. Nobody would leave. Everybody wanted to listen to everybody else's arrangement. It was so glorious.
Yes.
I mean, it was so glorious.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, I felt like part of an arranging family, and we did. We were also excited to hear what everybody wrote, because...
And what happens is that the kids get it. This is not their genre of music. Swing, hard swing is not their genre of music, but they are trained so magnificently by Bob Slack, when we're not around.
Yes.
He is their guy.
Right.
And he doesn't just teach them about music, he teaches them about life in real time.
There you go.
And the high level of expectation that they reach. And if they have the problem, he zeroes in on them and explains to them why what they are doing is important, why they are part of a larger world that simply didn't exist before they were part of it. It's really fantastic, because a lot of these kids are first generation college kids.
Right.
And when Barry Manilow, you were referring to him before, when he came into Citrus to hear the final version, the orchestrated version of For Me and My Gal, it blew his mind. I mean,
Well, Barry's passion is music education and
it
music,
saved
of
his
course.
life. Music education saved his life.
Yes.
And so when he came there and he heard the rehearsing and the chatter and the vocalese by the students in the hallways, he got so excited. And when he asked about what it took to get into this place, he was told it costs about $500 a semester.
Yes.
And all you need to do is graduate high school to get in there, because the professors will put you in a group that will most service your ability in that moment. But it's just
It's
the American dream.
It really is,
right?
and it's a beautiful example of junior college. And I went to a junior college in Miami before I moved to Boston and went to Berkeley, and had not as magnificent of an experience because they didn't have a studio. But when I got to Berkeley, I tested out of the first 2 years of college.
Wow.
Based on what I'd done in junior college, and and I knew I worked hard and I had great teachers, but that's when I realized the quality of education that I got at an inexpensive school.
Right.
And it's just so important and so fantastic, and it's a privilege to be able to be a part of their experience.
It is a privilege for me. That is exactly the right word, because I remember the beginning of my career. It never leaves you.
Right.
And for those who are just starting, they don't know what happens next. You know, they don't know what kind of stumbling will happen, what kind of triumph will happen. And to be able to say, whatever it is, this is a hell of a memory you've just created for yourself.
Right.
Keep going.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
You know, we had the same experience with Stevie Wonder when he walked into the school.
Wow. That one was for the books.
On your previous album.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Stevie Wonder came in to sing on a song that I had written with Tom Snow, and he came in to play harmonica.
Yes.
And he brought in his box of harmonicas and couldn't have been more generous with his playing. He kept saying, "Let me try this," or "Let me do. Did I do good?" You know. And when it was over, he heard the kids. The small group of kids that were left on the campus because it was spring break rehearsing in one of the rehearsal rooms, and he charged down
He was
the
just
hallway.
down the hallway.
A bunch of us were running after the blind man who was running towards the rehearsal room, and he stopped at the threshold of the rehearsal room, and the kids were rehearsing, and one of the girl singers stopped, and she asked him, "Would you like to sing with us?" And he said, "What do you got?" And they said, "We've been rehearsing Superstition." And he went right to the center of the band, surrounded by the horn players who were on bleacher seats and the rhythm section that was behind him. And he sang, and they played. And it was just thrilling. And all the grown-ups in the room were weeping.
It was
with
an
delight.
incredible moment I will never forget. We're heading into our first commercial break. I'm here with Melissa Manchester in her home, and we will be right back, so stick around for more stories. I've got a lot of questions to ask you about The Fellas, the new record.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Intertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
And you're listening to Making It with Terry Wollman.
Welcome to Making It with Terry Wollman, the show that explores the secrets, successes, and strategies for making it in the music biz. And now, here's your host, Terry Wollman.
Welcome back. I'm here in the beautiful home of Melissa Manchester, and we are talking about this brand new record that is coming out on the 8th of September, and it's called The Fellas, and you just saw a video of the new single. That's what we were just sharing.
Ain't that a kick in the head?
Which just hit the Billboard charts, #1 most added, I believe.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much, sweetie. Thank you.
Yeah.
And the video showed the Citrus Blue Note Orchestra. That's them playing with me.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah. It's, there's something so magical about setting the bar so high and then showing them the ferocity and passion that is required.
Well, I have eased into being the village elder. I've had I'm zeroing in. I'm up to about 47 years now doing this, and for a long time I was the youngest one in the band and the youngest one here and there. And now that I'm well seasoned and well into my career and my life, to be able to share this back and forth with young ones, or if I'm teaching, one-on-one, or with a crowd like the Blue Note Orchestra, it's lovely.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
I always had a feeling, my parents were educators. Oh. They were not musicians or artists, but I always had a feeling that teaching would be somewhere in my DNA, that really the most appropriate time to teach would be as I got older, when I had a point of view and something to say. Did you, at a younger age, think that at some point you would want to be mentoring and sharing?
I never thought about it.
Because you were just touring and writing? And
yes, I was very busy.
And raising a family?
I was, yes, I did all of those. I raised my 2 kids, I toured, I wrote for Disney projects, I wrote for musical theater.
Yes.
And then I got a call from USC asking if I would take over a class that had been taught by the theater composer Jason Robert Brown, to teach a very interesting class called musical theater writing for pop students. And I thought, okay, I'll be right over.
Yeah.
They said, can you do this? I said,
starring Melissa Manchester.
Yes, I can. And we at the end of the 15 Tuesday evening classes, we created a musical. And it was unbelievable to not only create that, but it was unbelievable to have a sense of, I know how to do this.
Right.
I wasn't trained for this. I just had the life experience. primarily because of the childhood that I had,
Right.
you know, having a father who was a bassoonist in the opera, so I grew up backstage at the Met Opera a lot. And
your mother was artistic as well.
She was a pioneer in the fashion industry, and
Yes.
she had been a singer. So my sister and I were raised in a very artistic environment, and so dreaming and going after our dreams was what was expected. Not that it would be easy, never easy, but it
No.
was simply, you know, if you have a dream, go for it.
Well, and as it turns out, your mom and dad were right, because both you and your sister Claudia are extremely accomplished at the paths that you've taken.
Right. Yes, she is a producer for E! Entertainment News.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, so it was fascinating, and to be able to share my experience from being a performer with young performers, because as I said, I've been doing this over 45 years now, and they can't imagine what 45 days from now will be.
Right.
And
Right.
so I, besides talking to them about song structure or harmony or perfect rhyme schemes or whatever, I talked to them about strategies, life strategies, because your body and your path become your lab, become your laboratory.
Right.
And you have to figure out what nutritionally, what sleep-wise, what spiritual-wise will keep you strong and centered so you can keep doing this. And I also explained to them that one of the things that irks me so terribly is when a performer comes on stage and says, I'm so bored having to sing this song that made me famous 40 years
so
ago,
offensive.
but you paid for it, so here I am singing, and
Right.
I'm thinking, really? You know,
Right.
these are such incredible blessings, and what I
Right.
have found in terms of performing is that the songs that people want to hear, I have grown with, and the experience of singing them, whether I've written them or not, has deepened.
Yes.
Because I understand the inner life of the song more
Right.
now. And that's fantastic to share.
I see that in your performing, both when I get to share the stage with you playing guitar, but also when I'm in the audience listening to you sing. And remembering also this really beautiful experience we had recording Home to Myself, a song from your very first record on my Christmas album. But the thing that was so intriguing about the idea was having you get to revisit a story that you wrote when you were 24 with Carol Bayer Sager, to come back fully formed, or as a grown-ass woman, or you know, somebody who has experienced a lot of life since those very wise and prophetic words were written as young women, and to bring another level of depth to the story.
It's mystical, really.
Yes, isn't it?
Yes, it's mystical,
Yeah.
I think.
I find nothing boring about that.
Right, and how many ways can you make a living through living your life?
Right.
I mean, it's you know, art is just one of those things where you draw from your life or the world around you in that time frame, and write about it or write about your impressions of it. It's and when it resonates with people, or when it helps to clarify things for people, you know, it's sort of the gift that keeps on giving, because for me, it starts with a blank piece of paper and a pen and an idea that I don't know if the idea is the title or tucked in the middle of the second verse. You just don't know until you keep. It's like peeling an onion from the inside out.
Yes.
You know, so it's really something.
So let's talk about this new stage of your life where you have also added, as songwriter, performer, pianist, singer, teacher. Now you're a record producer.
I am.
You're basically 2 records in.
I am.
I'm so very proud of you in co-producing your own music and bringing your own vision and taking responsibility for what it is that you want, and being really fearless about it. I think you've been open-hearted and open-minded, but still with a very strong point of view. And I'm wondering, how are you feeling going from You Gotta Love the Life to The Fellas? Are you enjoying producing?
Well, part of it is entirely your fault. And that's because for when we were co-producing, you kept saying, okay, what is it you're looking for? You know, you kept checking in with me. And I think because I think what happens is that I started to get more and more a sense of being able to trust my instincts. You know, in the early days, everything was so compartmentalized. You were the girl singer, and this would be your producer.
Right.
And sometimes it really worked out beautifully, and sometimes you thought, okay, I'm so lost here. I'm losing my sense of, forget about well-being, I'm just losing my sense of place.
Right.
And I stepped away from the recording industry for a while because I was raising my kids, but I just needed a new perspective because the industry was changing so. But now that I'm fully ensconced, sitting in that steering seat, behind that steering wheel, I know what I know.
Right.
You know, what are they going to say? You didn't have 45 years behind you?
Yeah.
I did.
Right.
You know, and I've had some fantastic success and some blazing failure and real stumbling in between, because we're always stumbling. And by the way, we're always auditioning. And I, you know, to just stay quiet with, I know what I know.
Right.
You know, somebody in the room may have a better idea, and I'm always open for a better idea, please.
Right.
Show up smarter than I am, please.
Right.
But at the base level, you know, in making the fellas, I know this music. This is the music of my childhood.
Right.
I don't, you know, I don't have to figure out how to sing this.
Right.
I know how to sing this, and so that's why every take was 2 or 3 takes, and that was it.
Right. It's
We were
in your
just done.
DNA that you grew up listening to this music.
Yeah, as opposed to a new song where you think, okay, what am I trying to capture here?
Right.
What's the strength of the song? What's the real inner life? I mean, with these songs that most of the world knows, it's just about, well, where in relationship to me do I want to refine it so that my take on it is very clear, and that it, yes, pays homage to the great artist, but it is also in this moment. It is in this moment, and not a literal copy of a former arrangement. So.
You know, I'm so glad to hear you answer the question the way that you did, because that I saw a fire in you that I wanted to stir. You know, stir up the ashes and blow into it and create a flame of you expressing your point of view and having the freedom, which you were denied, like many artists,
absolutely.
To express.
Yes.
And because when we were collaborating together as producers, I didn't want to make my album, I wanted to make your album.
Right.
And I needed to know what that was, so
Right.
I could help guide you to finding that.
Right.
And showing you my process
Right.
in doing that. And some of that is deliberately stumbling into some magic, you know, making room for some magic, and you know, and surrounding yourself with the right people.
Yes.
You know, casting and shared passion and point of view, and then again, and like you said, being open to somebody smarter walking into the room to have
Exactly right.
possibly an even better idea.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
You just mentioned about we are always auditioning. Could you elaborate on that?
Well, every time you get up to bat with a new project, you know, you hope everybody in the entire world will love it. And sometimes you create an artistic achievement, but it's not a commercial success. And if it's not a commercial success, I don't know about you, but I start to doubt myself, and I sometimes take to bed for a day or two and just get very still, because when you're in the moment of creating, you feel that you're on the right path. And if you feel it so deeply, you must feel, okay, this must be being supported by the universe, because somehow I'm feeling guided.
Right.
But sometimes you just get a quiet echo back, you know, and so you don't know if you're going to get another shot.
Right.
Because many things go along with creating the album. You know, you have to tour in order to support it. You have to do press in order to support that. And because we're in a society that doesn't take note of veteran artists as much as it really is attracted to the new kid on the block,
the embryo.
Yeah, you have to see how, I guess the trickiest thing is to see how you can be relevant. The other side of that is, because I've been doing this so long, I don't know that relevance is that terribly important. There's another shading, there's another nuancing to being relevant, because, when you're in your 20s and 30s, they want you to be current.
Right.
And I've heard that many decades of my career, and that was never my interest. My interest was always to be timeless. And, a lot of those execs at the record companies, they barely can spell timeless. They don't know what it means.
Right.
And so I guess I was a handful sometimes to some of the record company presidents, because I was, I more and more consciously bring forth the great artists that meant everything to me as a kid, because they shined the light on me.
Right.
That's why I did the tribute album. And so, and for the women that I paid homage for, they were rarely surrounded by people that helped them stay healthy and sane and financially safe.
Very true.
And for the men, I just don't want them to be forgotten. Because I just think this music is is such of a platinum standard, because it's not just the singers, it's the songwriters that wrote for the singers. These were not singer-songwriters. These were stellar performers who had stellar writers writing for them. And so it's this chapter in the American Songbook that I don't think is sentimental at all. And I don't approach this with any kind of sentimentality. This was simply music that had vibrancy and excellence and vitality to it that I think should be brought forth. And swing is so authentically American. It's as American as jazz is, in my opinion.
Right.
And so, I think it's so joyful in a time where we need joy. In this world and in this country, and so to be part of that is lovely and meaningful for me.
Well, I agree. We need joy, and one way to create joy is to make art, and to share art, and if it creates some happiness for you, then that's where it starts. Right. If your experience is one of joy, then it's throwing a pebble out on a pond. There's a ripple effect of joy to people that hear it.
Right. I mean, I've been privileged in my career as a writer to have people in the day send me fan letters about how songs have helped them decide not to commit suicide, or help them while they were over in Vietnam, or help them decide to make a baby to my music, or help them or to walk them, serenade them down the bridal aisle. But sometimes you just want to sing songs that are just make you happy, And they also are reflective of a much more optimistic time.
I agree. Yeah, well, they make me happy hearing them. I think this album is really going to have a long life. This is a timeless one as well. We're heading into our commercial break right now. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about some of your early experiences, like your Harlot experiences, and also talk about some of the other songs on the record.
Great.
So I'm here with Melissa Manchester in House of Manchester, surrounded by great art and energy and memories, and we will be right back, so please stick around.
Hey everybody, this is Phil Perry. Stay tuned for another portion of Making It
with Terry
Hi,
Wolf.
this is Tim Dolbear, host of Sound Experience here on Intertalk Radio. And Source Connect by Source Element is the essential tool that we use to link between my studio in Austin, Texas, and the WS radio station in San Diego. Now, with Source Connect, not only can we communicate in real time and with HD audio, but it's synced up and is of a high enough quality that I can use it for real-time ADR work, remote recording, and overdubbing, and it even allows me to remotely control a DAW. Source Connect by Source Element. Affordable, high-quality audio and video connection over the internet for all of your production needs.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Hi, this is Matt LaPointe from Motu. You're listening to Making It with Terry Wolf.
Welcome to Making It with Terry Woolman, the show that explores the secrets, successes, and strategies for making it in the music biz. And now, here's your host, Terry Woolman.
Venus de Milo is noted for her charms. Strictly between us, you're cuter than Venus. And what's more, you got arms, so let's cuddle in a corner and neat cozy little corners. Love is just around the corner.
Welcome back. I'm here with Melissa Manchester. I'm loving talking with you. I always
As
do.
always, yes.
It's
so easy.
Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about this song that we just heard.
Well, Love is Just Around the Corner. It's a simple little ditty, as they say.
Yeah.
But I was doing research to find the appropriate song to represent each one of these fellas. I checked in on YouTube one night at around 2 a.m. I had my phone. I was here. I was looking at Mel Tormé references, and I saw him performing this scat tour de force.
Yeah.
George Shearing was playing piano, and I thought, okay, what? What just happened? And I thought, that's what I have to do, because on Tribute,
Mm-hmm.
I paid tribute to Ella Fitzgerald
yes.
with her Lady Be Good scat. And Mel's was so ridiculous,
Yeah.
and it had never been orchestrated before. And I thought, oh, yum. And again, young David Catalan, who is besides being an alum of Citrus College,
Mm-hmm.
he is a horn player.
Yeah.
And so he understands that world so fiercely.
Right.
And he wrote this ridiculous arrangement
It's fun.
of Love's Just Around the Corner.
Yeah.
And there I am doing the scat with the horn section. And to do it live now is just wild.
It
So.
looks like you're having a ball when you sing
A
it.
ball
Yeah.
and a half.
Yeah.
But it's so, when I was recording, it was so exhausting.
Yeah.
It was really exhausting because I had to learn this piece phonetically and section by section.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're doing extremely intentional listening to what Mel is doing.
Right.
And I had faith that one day I would be able to do it at the speed with which he did it.
Uh-huh.
But until I did it, I would practice it section by section, very slowly, just to get my jaw and my tongue and my mouth muscles to just relax so I could get it out.
Would you practice at the piano playing chords or
I wouldn't
walking
practice
around
at
the
the piano.
house?
No. I practiced usually driving in the car. He would be singing with me, and I would just learn it
You'd sing with
piece
Mel.
by piece. Because if you're driving, you're not.
It frees up a part of your brain.
Yeah, it does exactly. It frees up a part of your brain. And so now I do it, and I wonder what all the problem was. But that's that's the world of scat. But it's just it's so dear. Mel was one of the artists that was kind enough to record a song of mine, and so to pay him back and thank him in this way. It was just fabulous.
What are those experiences like for you? What have they been like when you have Mel Tormé or Barbra Streisand sing a song that you wrote?
Well, it's larger than the sum of its parts because, as I said before, I remember when singers would have great writers write for them.
Yes.
So to be a singer-songwriter, but still to have the experience of having a great singer like Streisand or Roberta Flack or Alison Krauss, sing your song and bring to it their interpretation, which it's not just unique, it's very often better.
Yes.
I rewrote a song for Streisand that she ended up singing at her wedding and then recording. And through her questions and prodding the original composition, I rewrote it, except for the chorus with Tom Snow. The song was Just One Lifetime. She made it a better song because of her questions.
In her questions, were they direct conversations with you? Did you sit and talk about the song?
They were some. I got the overall note that the chorus of Just One Lifetime was perfectly intact. She just couldn't follow the intention of the verses. And so I asked my collaborator, Tom Snow, if he'd be willing to deconstruct and reconstruct. I mean, we wrote new melody, new verse. And we took into account her moment in life. She had found the love of her life, and she was about to embark on this lovely marriage, and what that meant and how it would, and who she was. And so, in writing, it's like in writing for theater. You're writing for a character and their world. We could write for Miss Streisand and her world in this moment, and it was beautiful.
Yeah. You actually write for theater more than people might know, and you had a beautiful collaboration with Rupert Holmes.
With Rupert Holmes, yes, and Sharon Vaughn. Rupert wrote the book, and Sharon Vaughn wrote the lyrics for the Sweet Potato Queens, which was done at Tuts in Houston, poor Houston, a year ago, March, and it was spectacular, and it looks like it's going to have a new life, and that's lovely. But I had a show off-Broadway several years ago called I Sent a Letter to My Love that I wrote with Jeff Sweet, and I've written for Disney. I wrote Lady and the Tramp 2 with Norman Gimbel and The Great Mouse Detective, and so I love writing for characters. It's beautiful. Songwriting is not that. Songwriting, you're mostly writing about yourself, unless you can sort of disengage and start seeing that a character is taking over. And that, at this point, that often does happen.
Let's go back to Harlettes for a minute, just like a little walk down memory lane, which was where you and Barry first became friends.
Yes.
And do you have any favorite memories? I know there was a lot. There were a lot of memories with that, but any fun story, like a worst or a best
Barry
experience?
and I met because we were both jingle singers.
Yes.
And he introduced me to Bet, and I worked. I created the Harlettes with Barry, and I was the toots in the middle for about 6 months. And it was so fantastic to be behind and to the left of Bet for those 6 months, because it was at the beginning of her ascendancy.
Right.
And the thing is, Bet says I have I'm talking about herself. She has the soul of a librarian, because she's deeply intelligent and very scholarly, and does deep research before she throws herself into a project, and she throws herself into the deep end of the project.
Right.
And so to see how she transported an audience, and in those days, It was, her power was that she galvanized the gay audience because they didn't have a voice then. This was prior to AIDS. And so when she sang You Gotta Have Friends, that she learned from her friend Buzzy Linhart, who wrote it, and he wrote it down for her on a roll of toilet paper that she then brought to Barry and he said, what am I supposed to do with this? But it became her anthem, and it became the anthem for the gay community.
Right.
It was really amazing. But to see what she did and how she communicated and created an instant community with the audience, it was amazing. And in the early years of my career, I saw how her attitude certainly influenced me for a while. I look at early videos and I think, oh my, I need to stop that as soon as possible. And eventually, you find your own way. But when I first met Bet, Barry had brought her to this club that I was playing at, which was diagonally across the street from her club, and I finished my set, and Barry introduced me to Bet, and she had just done her first Johnny Carson performance. And we were all so excited for her because we were traveling in packs, all of us singer-songwriters. And Bet was never a singer-songwriter. She was just a performer. And I asked her what she was going to be doing next after I congratulated her on her Carson performance. And she said, I'm getting ready to do my first Carnegie Hall performance. And I said, wow, are you going to have background singers? And she said, well, I don't know. Would you like to sing in back of me? And I said, well, actually, I'd like to sing instead of you right now. I'd be happy to. And that's how we formed the Harlettes. So it was great.
Yeah. I love that story. Let's talk about some of the other songs on the record and how you chose them, and also, is there maybe a second version of this record coming out? Do you want to do part two? Thinking about it?
Oh my God! What Ella Fitzgerald did with the American Songbook, which was album after album dedicated to one writer. I certainly would love to do an album dedicated to the Silver Screen stars, Fred Astaire. And more of Gene Kelly and all of those guys. But sure, I would love to. Again, this is the music that informed my soul. That was a part of my every single day at dinner time.
Yes.
My mother sang this stuff. I sang this stuff. My father would hum it. It was just in the air. And I think there's such a wealth of the great songwriters who wrote great songs for these great singers, So, yeah.
Was it a huge challenge to narrow this incredible songbook down to 8 songs?
It was an interesting challenge. At first there were more singers that were on the list. And so I had to really sort of whittle down who spoke the deepest to me. There are lots of really well-known singers from those days. But there was something so specific about these singers. They just spoke to me. I mean, Nat Cole singing Smile, written by the greatest clown who ever lived, Charlie Chaplin, just underscored Nat's elegance and dignity. He was so successful in a unforgiving time. For an African-American successful man.
Well, to be given his own television show is extraordinary.
Oh, yes, extraordinary.
And he brought such an elegance
right.
to everything that he did.
And to my recollection, he never spoke of any of the hardships in his life. He never spoke of the burning cross on the front lawn of his Beverly Hills home.
Right.
Never.
Right.
And I don't speak of that when I was first releasing the press for the album, but I just thought that his rendition of Smile was really glorious, and I wanted to use that to pay tribute to him. Yeah.
It's an exquisite arrangement also.
Thanks.
So I think it's one of the most touching performances on the record.
Thanks.
Is there any song that was the 9th song that that didn't quite make it?
Wow, the 9th song. Well, the original Johnny Mathis song was Wonderful, Wonderful. But I just could not figure out how to open it up. It just wouldn't have landed. It would not have landed. I was thinking of Joe Williams. I was thinking of Hey Baby, Ain't I Been Good to You?
Yeah.
because I knew Joe, and the last time I saw Joe was at a tribute for Ella Fitzgerald at Lincoln Center, and it was an all-star lineup. And I think they gave Ella the key to the city and the key to anything that they could find a key
Right.
to. And Joe Williams brought her out on stage, and the audience just went cuckoo bananas. I mean, they were just tearing the place apart. And we were all on stage, and they wouldn't let her off the stage. And finally, they did let her off the stage, and Joe escorted her. And she was walking past me, and she turned her head to me, and she said, "Did I do good?"
Oh. We are coming to the end of our conversation talking about The Fellas, your new record. Being that this is a year of doing shows and you were my first guest, I asked you this question a year ago, and I'm going to ask you again, but I'm going to remind you what your answer was. And I close every show with this question, which is, at this chapter of your life with everything that you know to be true, what would you tell your younger self? A year ago you said to me, whenever you feel panicked to make a decision, slow down. Slow down, because that is the key to wisdom. Because in your slowing down, that's where you'll find your wisdom. Is there anything you would like to add to that or amend a year later?
I would have given the same answer. It's in slowing down, which is really hard for young artists to do. They can't really feel what slowing down means. Slowing down is real, it takes real mental discipline. There is such a thing in the brain known as slowing down.
Right.
And whatever prayer or mantra or motto you have, to say it literally as slow as possible, in the slowness of the recitation of it, the space between the words allows your highest self or God or whatever to come through with a better idea or the answer, to the point where sometimes I just turn my head around and say, "Okay, thank you. I didn't know that would be my answer, but there it is."
Right.
Yeah, I think that it still holds true. Slowing down is the mother lode of wisdom. Yeah.
I would agree with that. The new album is The Fellas.
The Fellas.
Melissa, it's a beautiful picture.
Thank you.
And why don't you set up the last song?
The last song is the last song on the album, and it's my tribute to Tony Bennett. This was not the first choice of a song that I was going to sing of his, but when I watched him sing it at the end of his 90th birthday celebration at Radio City Music Hall, I thought, there it is. There is the statement, the question that is posited at the end of his incredibly long career. A career which he says has allowed him to see life as a learning experience, and I agree with that. Life is all about learning, and it is the metaphor of the question: how do you keep the music playing? How do you keep life vital? How do you keep curiosity alive? And when I recorded it, those magnificent lyrics by my friends Marilyn and Alan Bergman, it's such a interestingly structured monologue. You almost, I found myself almost approaching the first part of the lyric as a thought to myself, and the second half of the lyric to the person I'm singing to. It was just a fascinating moment in the studio. So, with music by Michel Legrand.
Yeah.
So I think it's a lovely way to end The Fellas.
So that is the eighth song on
It's
your
the eighth
record.
song,
It's the
yes.
closing song on your record, and today the closing song of our show. And it's always a pleasure. I thank you so much for spending the hour with me, and I'm very excited about everybody hearing this record. I really wanted you all to know about it. So do yourself a favor and go check out The Fellas.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
How do you keep the music playing? How do you make it
for another great episode of Making It with Terry Woman.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.